Okay, we're live. Don't lie. Why are you counting in? We're 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're live. Hello there, everybody. Sean Sheehan back here with another episode of the premium version of the SevereMMA podcast. Like always, I'm here with Graham. We're going to come in and give Graham the talk he needs. That Liverpool are terrible. Liverpool going to lose the Champions League final. It's MMA's biggest Real Madrid fan. The pride of Washington, D.C., Luke Thomas. Luke, how are you?
I'm doing well, boys. Thank you for inviting me. This should be fun.
Yeah. So I suppose we're a day out now, almost exactly a day out from the Champions League final, Real Madrid versus Liverpool. How's the build-up, I suppose, being in America and stuff, and I suppose soccer's not as big over there and stuff. For you, being a Real Madrid fan, how have you been finding the build-up over in America? Have people been asking you about it, or is it a little bit quieter? How is it going?
Well, you have to keep in mind right now we have the NHL and NBA playoffs. So in terms of news, that's been dominating everything. It's just how it's going to be. But tomorrow, I think there will be a fair bit of coverage for it. People ask me about it because they know me, and I won't shut up about it. So I get that, but I don't know how much that indicates natural enthusiasm. But look, Champions League is popular here. Ronaldo is popular here. If it was another team, if it was Liverpool versus Bayern, I don't know how big it would be, but with Ronaldo's name on there, it's always one of those, like, if you have Ronaldo or Messi here, it's always a really helpful hook. So I'm super pumped about it, nervous too, but excited all the same.
Has the kind of the special season of Liverpool kind of has it become known in America? Like, are people talking about it, that, like, Liverpool have kind of come from the doldrums, haven't been great for the last few years. This run has kind of come out of nowhere with Salah, especially having an unbelievable season. Like, I see a lot of people actually tweeting about Salah and talking about him and stuff. Like, is Salah becoming one of those guys that's maybe a little bit known? I'm not saying up with Messi and Ronaldo and stuff, but because of the unbelievable season he's had.
I hate to tell you, I don't think so.
Good. Fuck him.
Here's the thing that kills me about it. It's like, look, I love DC United. If Wayne Rooney comes and plays for us, I'm going to go. In fact, I was biking the other day from DC. Is a very small city. It's the only city that's not a state in the country, right? It's just by itself. And so it's very small. And I was biking to Maryland, and I was coming around the backside by the Nationals, our baseball team, stadium. And on the other side of that, like literally just the other side, is the new Audi Field, which is where DC United is going to play. It looks amazing. I'm like really excited about it. But as you guys know, MLS sucks. It really is it's not fun to watch. It's your hometown team, so you're always going to cheer for them. But because these leagues are they have deals with the local, not the local, I should say, but they have deals with like the relevant broadcast entities, Fox Sports 1 or ESPN, and they're the hometown, it's the American team. They just get a lot more coverage. Anybody who knows anything about, and I'm going to use the word soccer because that's just what we use. Anything about soccer knows like how big Mo Salah's season was. It's incredible to watch, and especially after being a bit of a dud in some of his previous runs in the Premier League, this one is just it's unbelievable to watch. But dude, Messi and Ronaldo is different level, man. In fact, it's funny. I was leaving I was coming around. There was a Nats game coming out, and then I saw people just for no reason at all wearing Barcelona jerseys. Americans are super bandwagoners when it comes to European soccer. So guilty as charged myself.
I was going to ask you about Rooney later on, actually, but I might as well ask you now that you brought it up. Like, could you see that bandwagon being something that they jump on? Rooney, obviously, he's not the same as he used to be, but the MLS, obviously isn't a great league. He could do very well. We saw, like Sir Robbie Keane and Steven Gerrard and others do well when they were well past their prime going over there. Like, do you think Rooney could have that? Washington DC is obviously a big media state and stuff like that. Could he have like a big effect on the MLS? Do you think could that bandwagon take off?
Yeah, people were asking, like, was this the guy you want to spend money on? Could you spend money better and get better, younger attacking strikers, at least in some kind of, scouting perspective? You probably could. Is that the best money you could spend to get the best long-term talent? I don't think it is. However, you got to remember when MLS first started, DC United was like really, really good. They won several championships. Dude, the fan base is dead because the team's not been good, and they've been playing in a super shitty stadium that's really decrepit. So the Audi Field is going to be a recharge thing. They need some kind of spark to get it going. Wayne Rooney is a name people know around here. As soon as that news began to circulate, all the papers were like, here's the 10 places Wayne Rooney should go and eat and drink and hang out, and how he'll be celebrated when he comes to town. It'll be a big deal for the city. It'll be a big deal for the team. He's well-liked, and can he be successful? I think any of those guys past their prime from Europe can be pretty successful here.
Yeah, that's
Do
true.
you think it's kind of like with Zlatan, where there's an initial buzz and then it kind of seems to die down pretty quickly? People kind of are, oh, I'll go to this match for a few weeks, or these matches for a few weeks, and then they kind of just move on to the next thing.
I think it'll be a mix between what Thierry Henry was and Zlatan. So Zlatan, you see that goal he had in like his first game. It was unbelievable by any standard, right? And then he's just sort of kind of been ho-hum since then. I think it'll be more than that, but Thierry Henry was like legitimately good for several seasons. He was the best player on the field most days, to be quite honest with you. So I don't think he'll be that either, but I think he'll have a little bit more. I mean, we'll see what happens with Zlatan, but I think it'll be better than what you're seeing now. I could be wrong, though. Who knows?
All right, let's get into the match coming up tomorrow. And I suppose, we'll get your perspective from the Real Madrid side first. How have you seen Real Madrid's season? I'm looking at kind of the two tables here and Real Madrid's progression in the Champions League. Like, they finished third in La Liga, way behind Barcelona. Like, is this a game like Liverpool for them? If they win, it's obviously an unbelievable season. But if they lose, this is, it's not the biggest disaster. It's obvious progression. They've gotten better. For Real Madrid, this seems like this game is going to save their season. It could save Zidane his job. Is that the way you look at it?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I'll be honest, they shouldn't really be here, right? Because the Bayern, the first leg of the Bayern game, the two legs it ended up pretty good. Second one was a bit of a disaster. The second leg against Juventus, I mean, what do you want me to say about it, right? I mean, here's the thing about being a Real Madrid fan. Every year you hear the exact same thing. They got there by luck. They got there by luck. And it's like, well, how do you win potentially 3 out of 4 years in the Champions League by luck? It doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you also look at those games and you're like, some things broke their way. It's really true. La Liga, I think it was a big adjustment from last season. They lost that bench. I'm telling you, so many times the games look the same, 1-0, 1-1, or maybe down 2-1, and they'd bring in Morata, they'd bring in James, they'd bring in Asensio, sometimes even Bale or Benzema off the bench, and then immediate magic, because whose bench can compete with that in the 75th minute? Nobody, right? Back then anyway. This season, they didn't have that. They still had Asensio and Bale and Isco kind of rotating, I suppose, off the bench, and Benzema has been up and down, but you get the idea. And you'll saw all these games 2-2, 1-1, or they would lose in the last second. They didn't have that same clutch. So the season in La Liga just kind of sucked, and they've kind of, I won't say limped necessarily to this finish line in Champions League, but to me, it's like you look at Liverpool and they've got a system in place and they play a certain style and it works for everybody and everyone's buying in. Real's just like, I'll be honest, I love watching the team because I'm amazed by their individual magic and their ability to just pull a rabbit out of their hat constantly. But there's no like system in play. I mean, yes, they have tactics, but they're not, what do they call it? The gegenpress that he does, Klopp and all that. Zidane doesn't have that. It's just, let's put a bunch of good players on the field and see what happens.
I think so. A lot of the players, Real Madrid, it's a football cliche probably, but I think winning scrappy when you're not playing well is the sign of a really good team. Even when you're just not clicking, but you have these players that can just grind through. Like Sergio Ramos might score like a last minute header. He's done that a few times. Just they just always pull it out, and that's what would worry me the most. Like looking at their team, they got some really good players and all, but as you said, they don't really have a system. And if they try to play high against Liverpool, I think that Liverpool can counterattack, but it's just the way Real Madrid always seem to pull it out, and they always seem to get every 50-50 decision as well, which doesn't help.
They get a lot of good calls. I'll just be honest, they do. And you've got a lot of players like Sergio Ramos who know how to milk the system. Also true. But the thing is, the reason why I'm way more nervous for this game than I was for Juventus last season. Because what was the narrative last season? Oh, best defense versus best offense. No, Real's going to break through on them. And I knew it was going to be, I don't know, 4-1, but like definitely by a goal or two. This is different because this is a high octane, well-oiled machine in Liverpool. They've got deficiencies too. But if you watched La Liga this season like I did, you saw so many times where, dude, they didn't pull it out. The last game of the season, now they kind of took off the second half, so whatever. But, dude, I've seen so many games this season where it was like it just collapsed at the end. They just couldn't get it going. They conceded it very, very late. Keylor Navas left to just drown out there. So, I don't know, man. They do pull it out. The champ. Here's the only thing I'll say. Ronaldo had a rough go at the beginning of the season in La Liga, but he was on fire in the Champions League. So they definitely get up for the big games. I think that you can say.
like these two teams to me seem like unbelievably good cup teams, and I know Real Madrid have had their success and stuff over the last few years in La Liga too. Being with Barcelona, but I think it's a little bit easier maybe to have success in La Liga because there isn't as many strong teams. But like it's an American phrase, I know, but like defense wins championships and stuff like that, and maybe they don't have that. But I think cups are different. Like before I get to maybe the success or how you think Liverpool line up, what about you talked about they just have like really good players in attack, and like which group of players would you pick? Like what would your attacking 4-6 be?
Yeah, so it depends if they're going to go 4-4-2 or 4-3-3. That would really so you know who's going to be on defense. So you're going to have Marcelo, Ramos, Varane, and Carvajal. You'll have Casemiro, Kroos, Modric, and then it really begins to get kind of dicey out there. The question is, do you start Bale, right? Because he's been on fire late. But if you start him, can you play Isco? Isco, you might need some better individual dribbling attack. I think against the press, that's going to be kind of important, to be quite honest with you. You saw Eden Hazard at Chelsea have a little bit of success doing that later in the season against Liverpool. Isco's a much better ball handler, I think, than Bale, although Bale's a better athlete and maybe a better finisher. If you play Isco, can you play him in number 10 behind Benz? I mean, Ronaldo's the obvious choice. If you're asking me, I actually start Isco, I think, to at least have a better shape. And then a little bit later on, you can bring in Bale off the bench. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I just think he might provide a bit of a spark late if it's one of these high-scoring games and one team is kind of fading down the stretch. You bring in a guy like Bale, and he's an immediate threat to anybody.
Yeah, like
it's great to have players like that to come off the bench. Like Liverpool don't really, like depending on how they line up, but they don't really have any options. Like the midfield is basically there's only 3 people left. Everybody else is injured, and the front 3. If you substitute out any of Mane, Salah, and Firmino, you lose. Like the quality you lose is just huge. So
Dom Solanke's top quality. What are you talking about?
Well, at least he scored his first goal, but he's probably the most confident he's ever been. But like, he's definitely a massive downgrade. And as you say, like Isco and Bale is a great problem to have for Zidane.
Like when I look at that team, like I'd play a team to actually counteract Liverpool, because I think you kind of have to. Liverpool they've been so tough for lots of teams this year. And like when I'm looking at it, I see players like Bale and Ronaldo who are like two of the best athletes in the game. And like just Ronaldo, you can just pop the ball up to him. Like I know we talk about Lukaku and Fellaini and all from Man United, like, but if it comes to that, and we've seen Man United have been one of the teams that have had success against Liverpool this year, just getting the ball into the striker. Like I was watching, I think it was 2 or 3 games ago, Real, where they played Ronaldo and Bale and Isco just kind of off of him with no real wingers. I think that could actually have a bit of success for Real Madrid if they played that system and don't play Benzema at all. But there's also the question in of, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson are 2 of, Liverpool's maybe weaklings. They've both had good seasons, but I think, if you get Bale running at Alexander-Arnold, we saw what Marcus Rashford did to him. If you get, in behind Robertson, he's very good going forward, but there's could be questions at the back. Like, I think it's a big decision for Zidane. Like, could this be a game where you come out afterwards and maybe if Real Madrid lose, it could be on Zidane's head afterwards, and he could, he mightn't have long left.
100%. I mean, I don't know if his job's on the line exactly because he's as you know, the La Liga season didn't go well, but they kind of got here. That's pretty great. I mean, whatever. But man, you got to get this one right, because here's what I'm thinking. I'm nervous, so I'm thinking, oh, let's make sure we have shape. Let's make sure we have defensive responsibilities in place. And I know Klopp straight up said Marcelo doesn't defend. That's the whole side I'm looking at, is the Marcelo side, man, because they can have on the counter press. Madrid is like one of their weaknesses is they lose their defensive shape on the counter press. So if they lose the ball and they're trying to get back into position, they're all jumbled up, and Marcelo's way up the field, and it's a nightmare. I think that's how the first Kimmich goal in Bayern got scored. Marcelo was nowhere to be seen. So it was just a disaster. That's what I'm kind of looking for. But you're right, having some speed and athleticism up front. The only thing is, you have to remember a huge portion of Real Madrid's offense comes from the cross, and a huge portion of that is Marcelo to Ronaldo. So it's just a real question of how you want to structure and stabilize your offense. But you have a lot of options. I'm leaning towards the defensive shape, or not defensive, offensive shape too, but just some kind of structure, because I'm so worried about that counterattack.
I just can't see
Yeah,
Zidane doing that. I think Real Madrid are a club that they don't worry about other people's football. They worry about their own. They say we're going to beat you with ours. But I think, like as you say, if Marcelo is going to bomb forward, like even if you are the best defender in the world, which he isn't, but he's a brilliant right back and one of the best attacking right backs in the world. But even if you're the best right back in the world, if you're up the pitch, there's nothing you can do with the speed of Salah and Mane, and Firmino is so good at winning the ball back as well. He's probably the best forward in Europe at winning the ball back and launching counterattacks up the pitch. And there's just no way Marcelo's going to be able to be there, as you're saying, if he's whipping in crosses of Ronaldo.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that you're asking me like all the major matchups I'm looking at. I'm looking at how they attack Casemiro because like in terms of he's good if he has the ability to scan the field first, but if he's collecting the ball and then trying to distribute without having proper time to assess, he can be really, so if someone's like pressing into him, he can be a bit of a defensive liability there. And then on that left side, man, or well, depending the Marcelo side, I call it the left because it's the way I'm looking at it. But yes, the Marcelo side up that wing off Ramos, leaving Ramos in there to do all the work is like, I don't know how much I like that. That seems like red card territory that I don't really want to get towards.
It's always red card territory in Sergio Ramos. But like the last few weeks, I think maybe Real Madrid have a little bit of an advantage in that, Real Madrid's league season has kind of been over. They were always going to get top four, never going to win the league. Whereas Liverpool were still hanging on, trying to get into the top four. Went down to the last season, so that even the last season they had to play. Like, have you been watching a bit of Liverpool? Have you been impressed with them? And do you think maybe the fact that they've had to play their best teams and best output in every game is maybe a little bit of an advantage for Real?
I'll be honest, I have not watched a lot of Liverpool other than through highlights. But let me be clear. I think this is a much more difficult matchup for them than last season. I totally respect them. I've been watching what Klopp's been doing a little bit over the course of the season. And losing Coutinho and still just being this goddamn nightmare machine is pretty impressive. But I have not paid a lot of attention to him. But to your point, the Premier League season is a grind, man. It's a super grind, and you go back to look at the last game of Real Madrid. I think it was at Levante. I can't remember who they played, or maybe Leganés, whoever it was. The first half they looked pretty good. Second half they came out and just looked like shit. And they didn't even. I think they had Zidane's son in goal. They didn't even have Keylor Navas, and they were resting some of the better players. So like one of the benefits of La Liga is that you can be a better cup team sometimes because you get so much extra rest. Or like they had last season, hey, just bring in this A squad off the bench. And let everyone get some time off. In fact, they even said last year one of the reasons why Ronaldo was so hot in that cup, and Zidane said it himself, they gave him a lot more rest as he gets older. He got a lot more rest this season. He had that injury, but he's ready to go. So that is one benefit for sure.
Yeah, 100%. We get predictions and stuff, and a little bit of a breakdown of what's going to happen in the match in a second. But before I do that, I suppose it'd be remiss of us not to talk a little bit about UFC Liverpool this week. Obviously, Liverpool in the Champions League final. I have a climb out about on Sherdog, and I think a lot of people are kind of talking about how this is just, it's amazing the way it happened. It's just a huge weekend for Liverpool and UFC Liverpool. Like, do you think that there could be maybe, a fall over from the game? If they win, it could like help Darren Till and help the other people. If they lose, maybe it'll hinder them a little bit. Do you think
you would know
that on UFC Liverpool?
You would know a little bit better than me, certainly. You probably have a better feel. It's a little bit closer to you than it is for me. My hunch is that by the time Darren Till gets out there, not much else is going to matter. Yeah. But I do think that if they win, and here's what I think. I think if they win tomorrow, and then if Till wins on Sunday, which is that's hard to accomplish, I do think in the end, UFC Liverpool will be remembered as one of these like special events. We're talking about the MMA beat. Is it MMA? Is it UFC Dublin? Well, not many things are, but it could be its own special moment. And we always talk about like star-making performances in MMA, some kind of way to stand out. If you've got a buzzed crowd, literally and figuratively from the beer, showing up, doing their thing. And then on top of that, Darren Till takes this moment where he beats the #1 contender and all that talk and all that bravado for the UFC's first freaking show there after the town's already high off this win. I honestly think it could be one of the more memorable MMA performances out there. He has got that kind of an opportunity. But in the end, if they lose, I still think by the time Darren Till makes that walk, they're gonna be ready to go.
Yeah, I just want to. Can you give us a quick technical breakdown? I know if you're to do a full one, it'll be all day. But like for me, looking at this fight, Wonderboy is obviously one of the best strikers in the world. He's literally, like, you could argue Tyron Woodley, but he's never been beaten in a stand-up fight. You know, Matt Brown beat him by taking him down. Even the Woodley fight, you know, he took him down, you know, a lot and had rounds on top of it with the draw and the loss as well. Like, Darren Till, Cowboy Cerrone is a good fighter, but I don't think he's elite level at welterweight. Like, going in here, taking on Wonderboy, he's favored to win this fight. Like, I'm not sure, you know, he's a very good striker, but does he have the speed? Does he have the accuracy? Does he have the ability over 5 rounds, if Wonderboy makes him miss a lot, to win that fight? What's your breakdown of it?
Are you guys confused about this one? Because I am. You know,
really.
Are you're confident?
I think Wonderboy is way too good for him on the feet, to be honest.
Wow. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I think Wonderboy's like, I was watching, there was a great documentary, and I mentioned on the podcast, about Anthony Joshua and Klitschko, and Joshua was talking about how Klitschko made him tired like no other person ever did by making him miss. And I think Till, with that huge weight cut as well, we've seen him the last couple of days, he looks gaunt at that weight. He probably should be a middleweight. If Wonderboy goes in there for 2 rounds and makes him miss a lot, Till is going to be more tired than he's ever been in his life. And I think Wonderboy will probably pick him off after that. But I could be wrong. Till could go out and you know, spark him in a minute.
I think the Woodley fights have made people forget how good Wonderboy is. Like, if you remember, like, what he did to Rory McDonald, nobody does that to him. Nobody. Like Johnny Hendricks, knocked out Robert Whittaker in the first round, I think, was it? So, like, you know, he's what a brilliant striker he is, and he's so hard to take down as well, like, because just the angle of his hips. And I think he's just going to have too much. I think it's too soon for Darren Till.
You know, I couldn't argue against any of that. I think all that sounds pretty right. The thing about MMA that for me, and watching it these many years, has been when you get these guys in their mid-20s, sometimes they just become totally different animals. So, like, your argument, which I find very correct, is, well, look who's just more battle-tested. Not battle-tested, but look who's just, like, look at the body of work, basically, that Wonderboy has. Till doesn't have it, period. There can be no argument to the contrary. And if you're just going based on that, which is a fine way to do it, believe me, I'm not talking you out of it, then, yeah, I think Till will probably get run over. But I'm a little bit skeptical of that, because I think Till has a sort of this sense of himself about how much better he's gotten. We haven't really had a chance to see it because he just had the one fight and he's been off forever. I do think that if the fight goes past the 3rd round, I don't think he's got a shot. I have seen Till fade. He's one of these guys who just comes out of the gate ready to go. And, you know, that southpaw stance, it depends how he uses it. He's a much better boxer than Wonderboy. Wonderboy, I think, can be a little bit susceptible at range in certain spots from the guy who's really good with his hands, especially with that. He loves that 1-2 Till does, that bang, bang. But, you know, can he pull it off? There's no reason to believe, based on his body of work, he can. But those guys in that sweet spot, he's in, what is he, 26? I'm telling you, man, those guys at 26, they just turn on a dime so fast. So I'm curious to see what he's got, man. I really am. I think this could end up being a blowout, like you think, but I have a reason to think it may not be.
Yeah, I agree with the confidence thing. I think undefeated fighters like Till do have that extra bit of confidence. They just think they kind of have an invincibility feeling to them, and confidence is obviously massive in this. And I was backstage before when Wonderboy was getting ready to fight in the locker room with him, and he's very, very nervous. This was a few years ago now, but he was very nervous before the fight, just staring at the ground, not saying anything. Like, maybe that's normal for him, or maybe he's gotten over that. But he's obviously went on and won all them fights. But maybe that kind of confidence will play a factor.
Confidence, like soccer, is one of those few. They talk about confidence in sports, like, you don't hear it that much here in America. It's actually a little bit more of a European thing, from what I can tell. Like, oh, you know, so-and-so is having a bad run of form, like Morata. Well, he's having more than just that. But, like, you know, it could be partly a confidence issue. But I think MMA is the same way, man. These guys, you have to be utterly dialed in. And if you're Darren Till, I think it's not merely a function of focus and getting better. I think he probably looks at Sunday as a moment of destiny, right? Like, I'm just going to be who I'm going to be, and everything will take care of itself. And I think Wonderboy probably is like, well, I'm the better striker and I have a job to do. We'll see which one in the end gets the job done. But you're right. I mean, that kind of thing can propel a person beyond normal levels of accomplishment.
Yeah, really looking forward. It should be an unbelievable fight. Pity the card didn't get Paddy Pimblett and Chris Fishgold and a few more, where it could be, like in the next UFC Dublin. But I don't think it's possible to have that. But I still think that main event should be really good. Right, let's end on this. I want to get predictions. Graham, I'll go to you first. What's your prediction for the game? How do you think the game will go, and what do you think the score will be?
It's a bit of another football cliche, but I think that the first goal is going to be very important in this game. I think if Liverpool get it, Real Madrid are going to have to play a high line and have to attack to get back into the game, and that's going to suit Liverpool. But like football on paper, maybe I'd be pretty confident, but and I'm not really nervous at the moment. But I think when the match starts, I'm going to be very nervous. And Real Madrid are definitely I think they start games quick, and it's important that Liverpool don't concede a stupid goal early. Like even if you concede a worldie, that's all right. Like you can come back from that. But if like Lovren makes a stupid mistake, or the keeper Karius makes a stupid mistake, he could like one of them, either Lovren or him, could completely collapse for the rest of the game, like Lovren did against Spurs earlier on the season, have to be taken off after 20 minutes. So that would worry me if Liverpool were to concede a stupid goal early. I think Real Madrid could end up winning comfortably, but I think Liverpool are going to win, to be honest. I think it might be a high-scoring game. It might be 3-2 or 2-1, maybe 3-2. I go though.
Yeah. Look. For me, I think I was looking at, Real Madrid fixtures, Liverpool fixtures, and almost all of them have goals in them. So this, usually with these big games, it can be a bit of a stalemate. One side even decides to go out and defend hard, and Real could do that because of the way Liverpool have been playing, but I don't think they will. Liverpool can't do that because they're terrible at the back. So I do think this will be high scoring. Like I actually think it might benefit Liverpool for Real Madrid to concede first, because Liverpool are at their best when they have to attack, when they have to know they have to score goals. And if there's any team in the world you wanted me to to get 3 goals to win a game, Liverpool would be one of them. They can just score at will. Like if Liverpool score first and try to maybe defend, even if it gets like 70 minutes or something, they're 1-0 up, I'd fancy Real Madrid to nick a goal and then get the win, because Liverpool seem to have that thing where their confidence just dies, even against Roma, who are a terrible team, one of the worst teams we've ever seen in the semi-finals. They almost lost that game in the end, even though they were 5-1 ahead or something like that.
Yeah.
The team that knocked out Barcelona by beating them 3-0, the team that won La Liga by how many points?
Yeah, but there's crap anyway. Here's my prediction. I think Liverpool will score first, and I think Real Madrid will win maybe 4-1, 4-2. Luke, how would you see it going?
I'll split the difference with you too. Like, I actually think it's going to be Liverpool that scores first, because sometimes Real Madrid comes out hot and they're ready to go, like you saw actually in the last year's Champions League. Or I go back, first leg against Bayern, they were just totally out of sorts, and Kimmich just ramped the field and let them know what time it was. I'm actually kind of concerned it's going to be like that. And then what you're going to see is Real kind of gather themselves over time. So I'm expecting a high-scoring game. I think 3-2 is very doable. I think 4-2, 4-3. I'm going to go 4-3 Madrid.
Right.
Obviously, I'm going to cheer for my team, but I actually think they're going to be playing catch-up for at least the early part, if not several parts of this game.
Yeah, 100%.
So we're all predicting high-scoring games, so we can expect a 0-0 and penalties.
0-0.
Someone was asking me about that. Like, it's kind of funny because everyone's like, oh, it'll be high-scoring, and then the football or soccer gods come in and change things. But you look at these two teams, both of them have similar strengths and both of them have relatively similar weaknesses. I have a very hard time believing this will be a 1-0, 2-1 game. I really do.
Yeah. Here, I must, one thing. I don't, soccer here, we call it soccer, right? Well, down the country, up in Dublin's basically England, and they call it football there because we've Gaelic football. But there was one the other day here. It's like a leg block or something like that. Did you hear that one where the goalkeeper saves the ball with his leg? And
it was a kick save.
Kick save. What is that? What the fuck is a kick save?
Look, here's what I would tell everybody. It's like, look, we have goofy terms for things. What can I tell you? I don't like kick save very much either. But you got to understand, every time I tweet the word soccer, like there's always somebody from Nottingham, England, and they put the word football with a little asterisk to it. It's like, I have terrible news for you. You may hate our terms, and they, in fact, like kick save, they may be very stupid. But the reality is they are stupid, and it's just not going to change. I assure you.
Yeah, it's basically like being a Liverpool fan. It's just they're stupid. Let's be honest there. But
Man United fans are going awfully quiet over the last while. I haven't heard a peep out of Man United fans. They're usually the most arrogant bastards.
What are you talking about? I'm a Real Madrid fan. Everybody knows that.
Jumping ship, typical Man United fan.
Exactly. Luke, thanks very much for having me. I'm going to have to get you back on to talk about MMA again in a few weeks, because that was fun when we were talking about UFC Liverpool. But hopefully Real Madrid win. Hope you have a good night Saturday night, and thanks for coming on.
It's going to be a good afternoon for me because it'll be airing a little bit earlier. But thank you for having me on. I'll come on anytime. And best of luck. May the best team win.
Legend. Come on, Real. All right.
Stop now. Cheers for that, Luke. That was great.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
We'll see you.
Cool. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Bye. Hello. We kind of fucked up the start, but it might be all right to try on, I suppose.
I'm trying. Just someone's come talking and trying to focus this properly. It's weird. I keep trying to focus.
I didn't get half my fucking questions out, but sure, it'll be all right.